In this video, I will go over how to increase the engagement with your Valuecase spaces. We want to have your customer engage as much as possible, and there's a couple of ways to increase the likelihood of that happening. First of all, it's how you set up your workspaces, how you share them, and then also how you introduce them to your customer, and then how you use them over time to collaborate. So let me just start with the setup. There's a couple of quick tips. First of all, I would always recommend to have a welcome block directly on the first page, just quickly explaining where they are, what this is, and what they will find inside. The big reason for that is that this space might be passed along. Not only your champion or your direct stakeholder will have this, they might pass this along to other people in the organization, and you want them to feel welcome, but also to know what this is actually. Another quick thing you can do here is to record an intro video. So what we really recommend is just going in to this block, click on new item, and then select record a video. This will bring up a video recorder. You can decide if you want to see the screen, the webcam, or how you want to share it, and then quickly talk them and walk them through your workspace. So you can say something like, hey, dear customer, we appreciate your time. This is our shared workspace where you will find everything you need during the process, where you will find tasks here, etc., and make it easy for them to digest. People are different. Some people like to see videos, other people like to read, so you have to catch them with different media items, basically. Now, this is the first tip, just have it very, very welcoming. And then in terms of structure, the next thing is keeping it kind of simple. We give you a lot of tools to build very complex spaces, but we typically recommend keeping it to like 4, 5, 6 pages. And only if you really have to, you would go over that limit. Also, if you set up your workspaces and they are getting a bit more complex, so you might have multiple action plans, etc., I really recommend checking out the action plan video to do things like showing just the next task or showing the onboarding at a glance. This really helps to keep the orientation for them and also having always this like first page. The next step is how you share this. So first of all, what we always recommend is screen share this in a meeting. So if you have a kickoff with a customer, if you have a discovery call, whatever it might be, go into the preview mode and share this in a meeting. You might present from this. You might want to walk through the task list, but already give them a feeling for what this is, what they can do with it, and have a first introduction in a call. This way you have direct buy-in, they want to look at it afterwards, and you have this collaboration directly in the workspace from the start. So screen sharing it is a key tip when you're working with Valuecase, and doing that early on will just ensure the engagement. And over time, so for example, if we have a mutual action plan or if we have an onboarding plan, we bring it up in every call. And we always try to go back to it and check, is this still the right reality, and so on and so forth, and make sure we have the dates nailed. So in the end, they also see us using it over time, and this will help as well to just keep the engagement high. Next, let's talk about how you invite them. So the invite email is important, right? So we want to have a clear email, and you can either build an email template for yourself and have it in your CRM or in Gmail or so, or you could use also our AI chats. Let me just start a new chat here and use our space invite email prompt. This prompt is very cool because it will create a very clear invite email for you. And this is a good best practice so you can see how a typical email can look like. Some of our customers also like to put like an image in the email or so and link that to the workspace just to make it a bit more visual. But this is already a very good start. So it has the link inside, it's what you'll find inside, etc. And it's just important to directly point them to the workspace. You want to keep this short, you want to keep it brief, highlight the workspace, highlight the contents, and then have them click into it. You don't want to follow up on a meeting with a ton of attachments and just going back to the old workflows. You want to just keep it in the workspace, which is really important to keep the ongoing engagement and keep the clarity for the customer that this is where they find things. So let's say you invited your customers, they're using the workspace, and you're collecting a lot of activity on these workspaces. The next big thing is maybe after a couple of weeks, you see them not engaging as much anymore, and you might wonder why is that. So there's a couple of tips around that. Of course, if you don't refresh your workspace over time, there's no reason to come back, right? Also, if you default back to emails and send attachments and so on, it will also be hard to keep them engaged in the workspace. So just use this as the central source of truth and keep it updated after every call. But another thing is to follow up on a call and maybe just after an onboarding check-in, write them an email. You might want to send them to specific places in the workspace. And there we have a very, very nice feature that enables you to send direct links to certain sections. So if you hover over any block, either here or also in the sidebar, you will find a way to copy a link. And this is a direct link, so it will jump them directly to this onboarding checklist instead of starting on the welcome page. Another thing is also on the tasks, you will find this. So if you want to send someone directly to this task, you can just go here and copy the link to the task as well. So this makes it very easy for them to find the right thing. And then finally, especially if you work with our action plans, we have a separate video on email notifications. So if you align due dates, it's very helpful to send notifications. You will find them in the settings, but yeah, we have a separate video on the Academy, on YouTube, etc. So I don't want to go too deep here, but if you set those up, the engagement will naturally be higher. However, if you don't want to use the automated notifications, one hack that I personally like to use a lot is just to use the comment feature. So for example, on the task, you can just write, for example, at John. And if you added an email address to John, yeah, this will be sent. I can just like ask them questions about the task. This can be very conversational, so I don't have to ask about the weekend and so on, and can just quickly send it. And this will trigger an email notification to John. Again, of course, the email must be there. In this case, it's not. However, if you added it, this will get there. Also, you can use the central comment feed, of course, and do the same here. Just mention them, and then they will get an email notification with a direct way to enter the space. So it keeps it all neatly together, and you can just use the Valuecase Spaces for the communication part as well and completely skip the emails, which is in the end where we want to all end up. All right, that's it for this video. Hopefully that gives you some inspiration on how to improve the engagement with your Valuecase workspaces and how to keep it up over time. And hopefully you see, after watching this video, a lot more activity on your workspaces. And let us know if there are any problems, any questions around this. Just reach out. Bye-bye.